Hello everyone, my name is Dan Schmidt. Thank you for checking out Schmidt Custom Woodworking based in Stillwater, Minnesota. We're here to provide custom woodworking on the east side of the Twin Cities. Today we're talking about custom pine stove covers, or what was traditionally called noodle boards. We'll start by discussing the ordering process. That's why most of you are here. But afterwards, we'll discuss some common uses for noodle boards, followed by typical places you can store the board when your stove is actually in use. And we'll end with some cleaning recommendations. As a quick disclaimer, these boards are primarily for decoration. The finish is perfectly food safe, but these boards really aren't meant for direct cutting. Think of them like your kitchen table. It's perfectly fine to set fruit, veggies, and other dry ingredients on the boards. However, I think most of us would not cut raw meat or veggies directly on our kitchen tables without first throwing down a cutting board or cutting mat. If you indeed want a board that will be specifically used for making dough or for directly cutting on, then that's perfectly doable. It just means we'll need to have an additional conversation which isn't covered in this video. Lastly, please remember that wood is a natural material and the grain and notch will vary between boards. Sorry about the black and white video. I'm not sure what happened there. But if you could please do us a favor and hit the like button to help us grow this business, we would greatly appreciate it. The first step in ordering a noodle board is to print out the noodle board ordering form. You'll begin by filling out some basic contact information so we can get a hold of you outside of Facebook if need be. Once this form is completely filled out, you can scan it to your computer and send it to us, or you can take a non-blurry picture of both sides and message them to us. We'll also ask that you take a picture of your stove for us if possible so that there's no surprises. We'll be able to help you customize the noodle board to your stove once we know if it's gas, an electric burner, an electric flat top, or a standalone cooktop. If this board is a gift for someone and you don't have access to measure their stove, then we'll just go with our default dimensions. You'll see that next you'll need to select which style of noodle board you want. Any of these styles can be used on any type of stove. For stoves that have elevated burners or grates, you can either set these boards directly on the cool down burners or grates, or we can modify the board design to straddle over the stove. Don't worry, we'll go over all these details once we see the pictures of your stove. These noodle boards are made from pine lumber. We can also make noodle boards from other wood species as well, such as oak, maple, cherry, hickory, or whatever you want. However, other species of wood aren't included in this special, and pricing would be based on their current market rate. Next, choose a stain color that matches or accents the current colors in your kitchen. Simply write down the name of the stain and the number code, or if you like the natural look of wood and you don't want to have any stain, then let us know. In case you're curious, once the stain dries, each board will get multiple coats of a satin polyurethane to keep your board protected for a long time. On the back side of your sheet, you'll write out the text that you would like on your board. Or if you don't want any text, simply write no text. But if you do want text, be creative with the font and positioning. We'll do our best to replicate what you've drawn up. And don't worry, we'll even come up with a few other proofs for you to look at as we work towards the final design. Lastly comes your stove's dimensions. You'll need to measure the overall width of your stove. You'll need to measure the side edge width of your stove. On some gas stoves, the grates overhang some of the side edge, and so you'll measure the width of the side edge that isn't being covered by the grate. You'll measure the depth of the stovetop. Note that we'll need to start measuring after the curve that's on the back side of most stoves. We need to start after the curve because otherwise the board will stick out a little too far on the front of the stove. You'll need to measure the height of the stove that's beneath the controls. Lastly, if your stove has burners or grates, then you'll need to measure the vertical drop down to the side of the stove. Once we have your order form, the picture of your stove, and we've locked down all the finer details, then we'll take your payment so that we can begin building your custom noodle board. Payments can be made online through Venmo. A credit card payment can be made over the phone, or you can make an appointment to swing by our shop and pay with cash, check, or card. Once the payment goes through, we will send you a few proofs within 1 to 2 business days so that you can approve the text and font for your board. From there, we'll reach back out once the board is finished, typically within 1 to 2 weeks, so that we can schedule the delivery. Currently, we're offering 3 pickup or delivery options, which we'll discuss when the order is placed. You can make an appointment to pick up your noodle board at our Stillwater location. We can meet somewhere out in public within 15 minutes of downtown Stillwater to hand off the board. Or you can pay to have your board shipped anywhere in the lower 48 states. That's really all there is to the ordering process. If you still have questions, don't hesitate to ask. So now let's talk about some other uses for the noodle boards. Other than just looking cute on your stove, noodle boards can be used in many other ways. If you're low on counter space, use a noodle board on your stove as a staging space for preparing all the ingredients prior to cooking. Noodle boards make great serving trays, especially if you're bringing out beverages or snacks to guests, or if you're bringing breakfast in bed to that special someone. They can also be used as a charcuterie board. Regarding storage for your noodle boards, when you're actually about to use your stove, there's several common places where you can temporarily store your board, such as somewhere on your countertop, on your kitchen table, leaning somewhere against a wall, or leaning against the end of your cabinet. As far as cleaning goes, I personally use a damp paper towel with a drop of dish soap and wipe the board off when needed. Once the board is clean, I'll just take a dry paper towel or a dish towel and dry off any remaining water. It should be noted, however, that these boards should never be soaked or submerged in water. If you still have other questions, feel free to reach out to us.